You're listening to On the Margins with me, Dan O'Sullivan.
And me, Eamon Stack-Mulvihill.
In this podcast, we will examine sites of education which are off the beaten track, non-traditional, non-typical, but diverse and exceptional, looking at learners who are often marginalised and ignored. You're very welcome here today. We have John Roche from engage-edu.ie. John, before I introduce you, I want to note that we're here in a newly renovated sound studio and we have new sound effects. So, John Roche, can we have a sound effect, Eamon? John is the Director of Engage-edu.ie. So, John, off the bat, do you want to tell us what Engage is?
Engage-edu.ie, it's a charity. It's based in Limerick Southside. It's there 30 plus years, and we support students from underrepresented communities go on to higher education.
Okay, and could you tell us maybe some of the communities that are most represented?
So the project started on the south side. There was a secondary school, and the principal was Pat O'Connor, and St. Inda's. So it started from the south side, so the Southill area of the city. Then it came down into Kennedy Park, Glasgow Park. Then went to the north side of the city. So kind of like Proston, Westbit, Moyross, and all those kind of areas is the primary focus. But then there is other communities as well that would sit under that. So you might have migrant students in the city centre, or some students might be in IPES direct provision places, and various ethnic groups and things like that.
Okay, so you're very much targeting marginalised individuals from marginalised communities.
Yeah.
So sometimes I've heard I know you have a background in residential care.
Yes.
Yeah. And I suppose I have a background in youth reach as well. And I remember a good colleague of mine saying to me one day, you can't spend all your time on the hard cases. There's some guys out there with all the best will in the world. No matter what you do for them, they're set on a path, and it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to go that way. So don't spend all your time with those people, because if you spend all your time with those people, maybe in a youth reach centre you might have 4 or 5 of those guys. You're neglecting all the other kids that aren't going that way, but you're not wasting your time, but you're spending all your time with those guys. So in what sense then does that resonate with you in terms of your work with Engage?
So I suppose just with my own background, I started, I went back as a mature student to Mary I. I fell in, didn't know what I was doing, and done an arts degree. And back in the day, it was a residential, you could still kind of get on as a relief worker. This was before, social care degrees and Kuru and all that. So I started there, kind of done a lot of working with young people, basically. It was 2004, so how long ago that is.
It's 20 years.
Residential kind of outreach work, kind of like social work, like education, welfare, child protection, probation services, youth diversion, and then kind of as through the years as I came up and kind of really into the justice, which is a big interest of mine as well, as of young people who were offending and that going down that road. I think people understand this, but I really begin to understand the importance of education, because once that goes, you can kind of you kind of really slip into a road then, like you're out of education, all that kind of stuff. So I started to focus more on education. And then when I started to work in Engage, they were looking at the whole kind of social thing with a different approach. So you have all these services for young people who were kind of like at risk of falling out of school, or at risk of getting in trouble with the police. But there's actually a large population of people who are living in these communities, who are going to school and engaging with the system. And the focus of Engage is those people. And that's really kind of, what kind of went into that road and focused on that. So that's kind of a really, I don't know, is it a debate? But from what I've observed is a lot of focus and attention on someone when they're called, let's say, a red flag into services, they're getting in trouble or whatever. but there doesn't seem to be a lot of focus on if you're at risk in one of these communities, but you're coming in and you're kind of engaging with the system. So that's our focus.
So I'm going to, you've articulated that very, very well there, but I'm going to kind of repeat maybe something I heard from you that maybe articulates it in a more succinct, but I don't know, a different way. You were saying kind of, there was, I suppose you were telling me about a time when you were working, maybe, I don't know, was it you were the director of Garda Liaison? Garda Diversion Project.
Yeah.
And you were saying, you know, there's some guys in the community and you know, they're doing well, they're going to school, but and then there was all the money coming in for regeneration, and they were saying, geez, I nearly went to rob a car to get some sort of attention or help, you know. So the focus of Engage then is that it's the outcomes are better because you're targeting highly motivated students. So you're not doing this thing where you're concentrating on four guys in the community that it's just they're on.
There's
that
services for doing that already, you know. So school completion. There's a lot of services, like you mentioned, like say Youth and Limerick Youth Service, and all those various kind of services that are going for supporting those people. But there's kind of not a lot of services if you are living in a family or an area where. Like the profile of a lot of the things is early school leaving. So you might have junior level education only, and you could be living in an area where there might be high unemployment, or a lot of people have been employed, engaging in social work. So you really have a lot of things stacked against you. It's almost easier really to fall into the culture of dropping out of school and hanging around with the lads. So if you're trying to break out of that, it's a big challenge. You're at a big disadvantage. But you're not really getting, the services are not focused on you know, they're focused on someone who's kind of like, you know, preventing.
In trouble every day of the week.
Yeah, no, all that kind of stuff.
So your work addresses this imbalance and the outcomes are very good. So I know there's three programs in Engage and you start them young. Start them young. There's a lot of see it to be it going on. There's a lot of familiarization. Do you want to run us through some of the programs?
Yeah. So one of the things when I started Engage, you know, whatever it was, 6-7 years ago, was I took some of my own understanding from the youth diversion, which was they were targeting. They were targeting different people. But they were still using a targeted approach rather than a universal approach. So rather than just say going from everyone from community, we're going to work with everyone here. They were saying, okay, they were targeting people and doing interventions as supports. So we do the same, but we just flip it around. So rather than going into everyone in the class, you know, we're targeting certain students that are kind of demonstrating that they have an interest in education, and that they kind of have the disadvantage element as well. So the programs is, as you said, we start early intervention. I think that's very important, you know, like supporting someone when they're 17 is fine. But if you're getting into these kind of these cultural things of like, you know, university is not for me, or, you know, high unemployment, or they feel they don't belong and all that kind of stuff. So we start in primary school. And it goes... The programs are 6th class in primary school through junior cycle. That's the nurture program. Compass is 5th year, 6th year, and 1 year PLC. So that's senior cycle, Leaving Cert. And then we have a 4-year undergrad program called Engage, which is the foundational program, which was really the start of the whole project. So we started and we walked backwards. So when it started, it was for young people who had gone to third level education from Southill, basically.
And it was supporting them in their third level journey and trying to prevent them from dropping out of third level because they don't fit in. There's no one else from Southill into college.
Well, it still exists, you know, because back in the day, I don't even know if access existed, you know, like, so you had, if you had merit from a community, say to UL or whatever, you were kind of maybe, some of the things you might have felt that you didn't belong, or your sense of belonging. You know, because you were probably from a socially disadvantaged area, you had your own kind of maybe culture and way and things like that, and you're coming into possibly, you know, a lot of people kind of like with a middle class background. So that was a big thing, you know, since, and financial is another thing, and financial barriers. But this still exists because in the access plan, you know, from the Department of Further Higher Education, they recognise that there is certain groups that are not in higher education. And the real reflection of that is what you're talking about then is into employment. So that means there's a lack of diversity in certain professions.
Yeah.
You know, and these are the groups that we're talking about, you know, that are, so the state recognise that look, that's why they have the access plan. There are certain people, the numbers are low for certain people in third level education, and that's a flow then into professional employment, you know, in whatever.
And so you set up initially with a view towards supporting third level students from the disadvantaged areas around Limerick. And then did you at some point you realised we need to be going to the primary schools, we need to be going to secondary schools?
It was kind of going on. So there was so they were doing so the project started, you know, it was before my time, but they were doing there was a bit of support around extra tuition, like grants if you were in CBS and you were, say, from Southill. So there was a bit of support around that, and there was some kind of initiatives around to do with like a book day in primary school, you know. So I think when I came on, I took all my various experiences and created structured programs that, you know, like, say, rather than a one-off meet, that it's a period over a few years, you know, because these students are going to need a few years. It's not going to be, I meet you once and tell you how great UL is, that you're going to overcome all your barriers and suddenly you're out here. So the programs are designed to be long-term, to be building relationship with parents, which is key, a key in all this, and supporting parents. There's a lot of communication of information, because they mightn't have the knowledge or experience or anything about going from through school to third level. There is also a peer element. So it's the opposite of negative peer groups that can influence people getting in trouble, to create positive peer groups. That's why they're in groups. And you're building groups up over a period of years. So rather than being like, not cool to go to UL and you're hanging out with the lads, you're in a group where you're talking about what you're going to do or whatever. And we start young and bringing them onto the campuses across the city, because to normalise being on campus. So by the time you hit 17, you've been on the campuses so many times that it's all those barriers are broke, because they're real barriers. If you're because some communities can be quite isolated, you know. If you're living, say, St Mary's Park or whatever, you would probably never be on the campus.
Yeah, one way in,
it's
one
an
way
alien
out.
world, like, you know.
Yeah, St Mary's, like, one way in, one way out.
Yeah.
And unless you're from there, it's not like you're going there to do your shopping.
Yeah.
There's nothing there for you if you don't, if you're not from there.
So you can be quite isolated in there, you know.
So in terms of parents and peer groups, I suppose, like, a lot of parents, they all want their children to do well and everything else, but I suppose a lot of them, they wouldn't, you know, if they don't have the experience of going, even the parents mightn't have even been on a third level campus.
Of course, 100%.
And even though there's quite a lot of supports there, there's a hell of a lot of paperwork. There's knowing the date that you have to have something in for, and even you know, you do a few days overtime, and then you're over the income threshold for certain grants and stuff. So having all that information is very, very useful. So in terms of working with parents, like, how often does that happen, or how do you facilitate that type of work?
So both programs, Nurture and Compass, have parent elements.
And just to familiarise people there, Nurture is the primary school
into junior cycle, and Compass is senior cycle. So
perfect.
So both of the, say, primary and secondary school programs have parent elements to them. One thing is we meet the parents when the student comes into the program, just to explain who we are and what we're doing. And then we call them parent support sessions. So you have kind of three groups. You have the primary school 6th class group, you have a junior cycle group, and you have the senior cycle group. They're the kind of three stages, if you will. And we would meet parents throughout the academic year. We've just set up WhatsApp groups for the parents that are happening. So there's a lot of information sharing. Not just by Engage, but also, like, say, for example, let's just say UL decides to run this fantastic thing, or, whatever. We're able to share directly to parents, because that's a big thing of being able to communicate. If someone is running an initiative or support or whatever, we often bring in then as well speakers from the colleges that might be talking about, certain schemes or grants to here and there and all that kind of stuff. There's also the very basic thing of just being there to talk to. So they come in to talk to the staff to say, I left school myself, at 15. I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. They're doing a Leaving Cert. I didn't even go do my Leaving Cert. I don't have a clue. I'm stressed. Am I going to be able to afford this? I don't know anything. So there's all that. So anything, I think, in community work is just being able to access someone, like we're all on the phone, send a message to be able to call or knock on the door and come in. And the old thing of, like, sitting down, cup of tea, to chat, that is a big...
forming a meaningful connection.
Yeah.
And, so someone they can go to.
Yeah.
You said the WhatsApp groups were hopping.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking there of, what's happening at the moment. So to any parents out there, if you get invited to a WhatsApp group from a national security director that you do not know, don't feel you have to join.
There's no war plans on there,
so what,
actually, I just say one thing, like, as a community group, because you have schools and you have institutions and things like that. Engage is one of its kind of really strength areas, is that direct connection to parents and students, because institutions or whatever, can be running great, initiatives, but it's getting that information that goes from an institution into a school, into someone's student's bag with papers thrown in the corner, to make it to home, So, and another thing is knowing the person. So if I know you and I say, look, it's more openness rather than a stranger suddenly saying, I'm running this thing, whatever. So these are key elements, I think, in the community.
And link it in with local people as well, because I know a lot of the time, these initiatives are started, and a lot of the time they can be run by people who've no experience of life in these communities, or even they might have been, but they haven't been there in 40 years. Before that hit the fan or whatever. So that's what type of questions do they ask on the WhatsApp group?
Well, the WhatsApp is information sharing, basically. So, like, like the lads are. And we have one for the students as well. So, like, the senior cycle students are in a WhatsApp group, and the third level students. So it's just an easy way to communicate, We have other things as well, like it's like school-based text parent systems and messages go out. So it could be like, say the lads now are setting up stuff for Easter activities, or...
I know, I got the call,
yeah. Or just say, like, for one of our neighbours, Blue Box, they're running programmes. We'd share posters in. Is anyone, another friend of ours, Narrative 4, they're running a thing they can, and so we were able to share into our parents groups, so it's not just not what we're doing, it's what others are doing as well, but having that network, because for someone, like, it's making that connection. So we have the existing body of group, and a key thing in all this is relationship, like. So, if you've isolated communities and people over years, that's how you can really communicate with someone, rather than just going in cold.
Yeah, I'm coming in here now to save you all.
I'm going to run the thing for a week, and that's it.
I'm going to interview 3. I'm going to finish my thesis, and I'm gone. I'll never be back. And
you know how you build that up?
Yeah,
you build that up because it's a two-way street. It's not. It's like when they're looking for stuff, we're there. So when we look for stuff, then for whatever, they're there, and it's a proper, genuine relationship.
Yeah, it's not all one way.
No.
Yeah,
that doesn't work in it.
Yeah, and then we had some students on campus today.
Yeah.
Which we've just met.
Yeah.
So Vanessa and Aoife are project workers with Engage who actually did all the work there today.
Yeah, exactly.
And myself and John just kind of turned up at the end and stuck our arm in, and they're going to know when, so I may as well mention that. But so in terms of what was happening today, so
I don't have a clue.
so they were over in the immersive software engineering. They met Gillian there.
And then they met someone from humanities.
Yes.
The arts.
Yes, in C block. Yeah.
And they were up in the chemistry.
The chemical sciences, the periodic table.
There you go.
There's
it's happening over there.
Maria Monroe. There's Owen there. I forget his last name. Peter Davern. That's a really good show. And then we're down to our friends in the Access office.
Yes.
So Adele, Tess, and Claire. Hello, and how are you doing? But then the highlight of the day. The bit they all remember.
Lunch.
You have
to feed them. But you see, even that is, there's a thinking behind that as well from primary school up, is that you're normalising being on campus. So by the time, you will have, if you're a student, you'll go to these places to eat, so just start repeating that all the time of sitting down, having food and stuff like that. So a busy day they had today,
Yeah, and I think it was Tess asked them earlier today, put your hand up. Have you been on the UL campus before?
Yeah. And
nearly all the hands went up. So, and even that cohort that were there today, would you have had most of those since, would they have been in nurture or?
It'd be blended. So, because nurture goes to the junior cert, and then we're exploring TY option at the moment. So some students go into the TY. Some of them would be from nurture, so we would have had some of those students from primary school, and then some would be just recruited in fifth year. So it depends. And it's also, another thing is, today you would have met students from a variety of schools, so they're blended schools rather than, and that makes up the group. Yeah.
And I suppose the Engage program is going 30 years now, so there's graduates now.
Many graduates, yeah.
Yeah, and there's people all over UL in different faculties that are engaged students.
Yeah.
From everywhere from chemical science to the medical school, all over the place. How many students do you have? Are you currently supporting a third level in Limerick?
95 students.
So that's quite a big number.
Yeah. Too big.
It's too big.
Because it all costs money.
It does all cost money.
Yeah.
And you have, so you have to, I suppose they wouldn't have all have gotten grinds and stuff from Engage.
So basically,
most of them avail of it.
Yeah. So the system is in senior cycle, they're getting access to the extra tuition, the revision courses and all that, and it's a pipeline then for them to go on to their third level places. So a lot would. I think it was 55 students last academic year, that were heavily supported in access to extra tuition and all that. That comes down to finances. Families don't have the money. We fund it, and the progression rate, I think it was 95% of the students went on to courses last year. So it's further in higher education. I think it's about 10 PLC with the goal of getting them on, and then the rest would be third level.
Yeah, and that's a great progression rate. If any school or any program had that, they'd be very happy with it. There's we've talked about the 3 programs.
Will I tell you a bit more just around the senior, what? So you have the extra tuition.
Yeah.
You have access to a laptop scheme. You have the campus visits to the various colleges. You have corporate visits as well to companies. You mentioned it, the see it be it, so the third level students sometimes will come and might do a school visit or might be around, so you're kind of seeing people from the community. So the role model element is a big part of it.
And kind of defeating that idea of people from the island don't go to UL.
Exactly.
Gillian there in the immersive software engineering program. I was there on Tuesday, and she said, I'm from the Lee Estate.
Yeah.
Do you know? So you're putting a nail in that right off the bat, and they're getting it early.
Yeah. Which is very important.
Yeah, and exactly, and they can see it to be it.
Yeah.
So then in terms of while you're at college, is it mainly just financial support, or are they coming back to?
So there's financial support. So they get a grant from us, but it's a participation grant. So they have to attend workshops that take place in the Strand Hotel. We bring in speakers on different topics. So it could be, it's usually like maybe public communication skills, CV interview skills, mental health and well-being. These kind of bits and pieces. We've had a few UL speakers come in the past, talking around whoever. We'll take anyone that'll come in and talk to students. So they come in for the hour, and then after that, they get their grant payment. But you're kind of they have to do it. But we get the evaluations at the end of the year, and all of them say that they do actually. It's like maybe like going to the gym. You kind of don't want to go, but you're glad you went in.
Yeah.
They kind of enjoy it. But there's the peer element, So you could be still meeting for a cup of coffee with lads you went to school with, and you might have gone to different colleges now, whatever, and things like that, or people, and you're touching base. So there's that peer element as well. Then there's drop-in sessions as well. There's individual support for students, and there's even support, things popping up around. Be financial issues, could be accommodation issues. There's a hot one at the moment. So they'll be reaching out. So it's not just the academic thing. They'll reach out if there's other things as well, because we have that relationship built up. Yeah, and even when going into college, the services. For example, a student said to me, "Look, I'm struggling. Can I get Python?" I think is the for grinds. And I said, "Did you go to student support?" And he didn't. Yeah. So I was able to go back. So even that thing of, we have the relationship and you're easy to get to.
Yeah.
And then you can go back and redirect into. We do a lot of signposting into services and supports that exist.
I like that, signposting. Yeah, that's good. That's a great word. And I'm often in my own work here in UL. It's so often a student will come to you and they have an issue, and you say there's a whole support service there to deal with that.
Yeah.
And even just a small thing like I'll set up the meeting for you, and off you go, and that can help a lot. So what else did I want to ask you about?
I might just ask while we're we kind of spoke a good bit about the senior cycle and the college level or the third level systems. What are the main aspects of the primary school to junior cycle?
Well, that's the fun one.
Yeah, can imagine.
So the primary school one, I think nurture 6th class is really, I think, around the cultural element. You're getting in young. And Dan knows this because he'd been involved in it. So you're bringing them to the campuses. First off, you were telling them that they have been selected for a program, which the question a lot is like, why was I picked or whatever. So you're giving them straight away a message, a kind of positive reinforcement that like you have been selected. It's not for everyone in the city. You're bringing them to the campuses. So they're starting that thing, kind of fun element. They do kind of, we call it baby career guidance. So it's like they do a job project. Mm-hmm. Like, what you want to do when you go up, and we have this thing, and it might be whatever, you have to say how you're going to get there, what's the salary, and all this kind of stuff. So there's this kind of just breaking down this piece, and then there's the transition, which we do the graduation. We've done a few, and Dan has been the man for that.
Just interrupt you there, John. The person who again the bit they remember normally is food and the tables. But for the graduation there's something else they remember. The goodie bag they get from John. This is serious swag now.
The goodie bag. Yeah,
they're going home beaming. Yeah.
But it's so it's kind of like. And we say, and I've seen Dan say it as well, the University of Limerick is their university. So you're getting it in from a very young age that it's not for others, it's not for other people. It's your campus. You're living in this city, and it's for you. You can come here. So they're just getting that positive message. And then the transition into secondary school, so there's kind of support around that, the anxiety, the fitting in. And then as it goes up a little bit more towards junior cycle, you have the academic support and begins to creep in, And then there's social element as well, which is a big part of it, building the groups.
Lovely. In line with those peer kind of groups, building on those.
Yeah. So when you're in first year, so for example, you go into first year, the junior cycle element, we even do things like going bowling together, bringing them up, those kind of recreational activities. So they're all in different schools, but they still have that connection, that element. And even with the WhatsApp there recently, we were really focused on the junior cycle, and the senior cycle was academics. And one of the lads was saying to us, we want more fun stuff, like the Leaving Circle. And we threw a thing into the WhatsApp, and it was like 20 some of them went like in one of the midterms out bowling.
Lovely.
And we thought there'd be older for that, they'd be just focused on the academics, but they wanted that as well. So that kind of having that fun element, that youth element is important as well, for it's like, I suppose, in big companies to have the kind of staff training and kind of they bring in the drummer or whatever it's and all that stuff. So it's the same thing of starting that from primary school the whole was up.
You've mentioned the big companies, John.
Yeah.
If there's any big companies listening there now that would like to support the programme.
Helping all these students going to university.
Because they'll be in your workforce.
Exactly. So then even around that, some of the core, like the students would be studying the range of courses. So business, nursing, teaching, engineering. So really whatever is being offered on campuses, they're doing. We've medicine, we've two doing medicine. So it's the whole range: sports, social care, anything that's been offered. We have students doing it, so it's actually a very positive project, to have. We have 95 third level and 14 in PLC, so 100 plus students. And when you compare them to the stats of the communities that they're coming from, you have like people that are really breaking out, and totally biased. But if I was an employer, I would be. You're taking someone that's got it, has overcome challenges and been dedicated. So I think they'd be good employees.
Yeah, there is that. If your life is an unbroken chain of success, you're as soft as a grape. Because if you've never had to overcome or face adversity, the slightest small challenge will send you in a tailspin altogether. But the engage students have if they've been involved in the engage program and you're an employer, these are resilient people. And they're problem solvers.
Well, they're dedicated, motivated. Like say for example, the extradition is office on a Saturday. I know when I was that age and it was doing the Leaving Cert, I wasn't going into grants on a Saturday. And you might have someone in they're working, they're doing this and that, they're putting in, they're really breaking through, because you could have. The common profile is the first in the family to be going on to third level education, and so to be kind of doing that out in the front of the family, you want to have like a bit of grit, be determination, because most kind of family you have a kind of network set up and you have support set up and all that kind of stuff. And financial support even,
Yeah, you've been told at the kitchen table, we're not college boys in this house.
And as well, you're going against which is a very powerful influence, is your peer group. So when you step out the door, you have a lot of lads who you went to school with or hanging around, who probably, maybe have left school or have no interest in school, or education is not on the top of the list of being cool. So you're kind of. And peer influence at that, it can be very, So to be overcoming that is also someone that's determined and has grit.
Just to put up, a challenge to that stereotype of what's cool. If you look at the clubs and societies we have available here, and the activities they have, they're second to none, and you're going to have a great time. And if you do become a student here, they're all free, or well, they're not on
Close
the cost today. Yeah, like it's the cheapest you're going to get it. John, if you had one message for parents about how to connect with the Engage service, or so I suppose you don't start in baby infants.
No, we were in fifth class.
It's fifth and sixth
Well,
class.
and its strategy actually, when I started, they were looking at preschool, but this just comes down to resources, because you can have debates where to start in this, so we're a small local community group. We have a small team, our sources are limited. We're not a national organisation, we're not, a big institution. So we had to pick somewhere to start, but I know that on the strategy originally they were looking at preschool. Working with the family and the parent, so getting in with the literacy and.
But if you couldn't facilitate everything.
No, exactly.
So if you are a parent and you're in one of the designated communities that we're discussing, it's fifth and sixth class is kind of the point of contact.
Yeah.
So if you have a son or daughter in the local school in one of these communities, what
how do we recruit?
How do you recruit? Or if you're listening to this and your son or daughter is in fourth class and Engage are coming next year.
Yeah. So what I would say anyway is where the door is always open, so we take referrals from schools, but also from parents directly, our community groups. Engage in Education, we're based up there in Roxford on the LEDP.
The LEDP, no, that's where Let's Do Coffee is.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly, if someone is an interest with their own child and wants them to go on, we're always there to just have a chat. We would engage them with the school because we need to, talk to the school where they're at in the school, But the message to the parents would be to aim high. I suppose the whole point of this is that I think everyone kind of knows the further you go in education, you have more opportunities in your life.
Yeah.
And I think most parents would want that for their kids, to give them and in this day and age, there's so many avenues and opportunities to get in the education system and so many supports. The message would be aim high, because sometimes you might be getting the opposite message. Aim low. That you're not fit to go out here, that it's not for you, or you don't belong here or whatever. So take advantage of what's on offer, is I would say, because there is many supports, and the institutions have various programs and all these different things going on. So aim high.
Shoot for the stars.
Shoot for the stars.
If you only get halfway,
because if people are telling you that you wouldn't be able now, for sure, a lot of this just comes down to putting in the work.
Yeah. And not giving up and failing 100 times and getting up again and trying.
But our outcomes demonstrate that. If we have 95% of people gone on, into, as I said, we've 2 doing medicine, so if we're telling them, and one of the lads is from Gillian's neck of the woods, so if the message is, you'll be better off now to just kind of aim lower, kind of where you're from, aim for apprenticeship or whatever, not wrong with apprenticeships, but, our message is, no, you aim high,
I suppose on that as well, would you mind, say, we've kind of made a statement for the parents to how they get involved, but maybe if you could share a success story or one that maybe it was memorable to you, so that they could see the massive advantage of maybe getting involved with the likes of these programs.
So success stories, Bill
Gates was one of our students.
We have a student, and I won't say any names or anything
Absolutely.
like that. So we've a student, just off the top of my head, who was in secondary school, and she would now be the first in her family, and she's doing nursing here. She's in her second year, and they're from the south side part of the city. And I think in school it wasn't really, she was kind of being encouraged to aim lower. And general nursing, there's 4 siblings, and our sister has gone into higher education as well. The mother had gone to higher education.
It's kind of a domino effect.
Yeah. You're setting up the role model. So we have so many stories of different students, going on into higher education. We had a young fella who went to CBS, and he came into the country in second year, and he couldn't speak any English. And he's in his first year now of medicine down in Cork. So he was just through hard work and motivation. And he took as many grinds and many things as possible. And he's down doing his medicine. And you have such a range, like engineering or whatever. So there's a gamut of, stories. And then we have a few sprinkled in, a few matures as well. So we do take in mature students as well. So there could be single parents gone back into education. We have a student here who's in the sanctuary scheme in UL, and she has 4 kids, and she's doing nursing as well, mental health nursing. Yeah. Okay,
so John, we've covered a lot of ground here today, I think. The work you do is outstanding. The outcomes speak for themselves, and it's not just me saying that. There's reports out there, Rethink Ireland and all the rest of it.
Evaluations in here.
So is there anything you would like to tell us that we haven't got into already?
I suppose like the thing is, we're the product as well, the message is good, so there's great outcomes, but like a lot of community groups where, we're always struggling to get the resources for these students and families. That's the big thing of, I suppose, many community organisations that are on the front line. They're probably doing really valuable work, and we're totally biased because we think this is extremely valuable work because you are getting someone into higher education that could change the whole dynamic of the family unit, the community, and that's a big part of what we're doing really is you're trying to change the community, because the more people who get into education, they're getting into employment and income, and you're influencing everyone in the community. So that would be, one of our struggles is, resources. So you mentioned there, Dan, about companies and things like that. If there is, companies out there.
There's a lot of big companies down the road there in Classy Technological Park. If there's anyone listening there now that has a corporate social responsibility to the local area, get in touch with Engage in Education, please. All help is welcome.
If you're, because we have to go out and find. So basically, extra tuition is a big one, so families don't have the money. And they might want to do whatever, French, maths and things like that, and we fund it. So we have to go and find that money to resource that, and it goes direct to the student, and the outcome is the student does the grinds, and then they go on to third level education. So it's very simple. Sometimes I think in community stuff, when it comes to outcomes, someone might be wondering what is actually the outcome with this kind of situation here, if you're dealing with addiction or homeless and things like that. But with our work, it's kind of crystal clear to me anyway. If you putting resources to someone and they're going from secondary school into third level education, it's the outcomes really speak for itself, doesn't it? You won't be saying, well, what is the outcome here? It's they're going to university and getting a qualification.
And the knock-on effect of that then as well is everyone else in the community sees that it's possible, and the sibling effect as well.
And even the wider society. So you have people like, you have the family unit, you have the local community, but you also have society. So you have people who are becoming pro-social people who are going into professional employment and, working in various industries and things like that, compared to, say, people in a community what might be high unemployment, generational unemployment. So you have a whole society effect as well, And then one of the things that we didn't really talk about was one of the goals is getting diversity into the education system itself, which is a key thing.
Yeah.
But I would say that just even like going back into say where we start, which is in the primary education system. So getting diversity into the education system itself, in the teachers in primary school, getting diversity into the secondary school teachers. So you have like Ireland is a diverse country now. So when kids are going through school, they can see people that kind of reflect them as well, you know, as they go through before they even hit our education. So the whole system, you know, should have diversity. It should reflect the population of the people that are living in the country, because, you know, like we spoke about a lot around communities, but you also have other communities as well, which is the migrant community, you know, who are coming into systems which are probably, you know, mainly white Irish professionals, and that's your experience of the system when you come in when you're young and you're going to secondary school. You know, it's white Irish professionals as being teachers. Our positions of, you know, authority compared to, you know, you're on the opposite. So I think diversity through the education system is a key target as well.
Okay, John. We might finish it there, but just you know, to close, I suppose to say, there's the work you're doing. It's putting a lot of hope into communities and into young people. I often think of Cork as kind of a city that's kind of similar to Limerick, but if all the mothers down in Cork, they're very happy if their children develops a Cork, or if their children have Cork accents, whereas Limerick is kind of looked down on a little bit. So Cork is like Limerick, but more hope. I think you're increasing the overall level of hope.
Of Corkness, is it?
Well, not Corkness, but hope in Limerick City and pride in Limerick City. So fair play to you, and thank you for that, John.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of On the Margins.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please follow and subscribe on all your usual platforms or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can also check us out on our website, aidonthemargins.com, for more info, content and upcoming events. See you soon.